The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I am your host. I am your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Simul Radio, Simul TV, and iHeartRadio. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And for all the radio programming that we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. Exonation, my first guest tonight is Garnet Schulhauser. He is a retired lawyer who lives near Victoria on Vancouver Island with his wife, Cathy. After practicing corporate law for over 30 years in Calgary, Alberta, with 2 blue-chip law firms, he retired in 2008, and his first book, Dancing on a Stamp, was published in 2012. Since the release of his first book, Garnet has been active with book signing tours and speaking engagements, and has been interviewed on over 120 radio talk shows broadcast from studios in the U.S., Canada, the United Kingdom, Ireland, and Australia. In Dancing on a Stamp, Garnet recounts how his life changed dramatically one day when he was confronted on the street by a homeless man named Albert, who was actually a wise spirit in disguise. This seemingly chance encounter launched a provocative dialogue with Albert, who disclosed startling new revelations about our true nature as eternal souls. The cycle of Garnet's second book, Dancing Forever with Spirit, describes his next encounter with Albert, who guided him on a series of astral adventures to visit Spirit Side, the Akashic Records, distant planets with fascinating life forms, and a human civilization that made the shift to the New Earth. His third book, Dancing on Heavenly Bliss, continues the saga of his astral trips with Albert, who took him to meet Gaia, the consciousness of Mother Earth, 2 of the Earth's mythological creatures, a Sasquatch and an Irish fairy, a human civilization on another planet that is ruled by women, and many fascinating souls on the spirit side who regaled him with tales of their lives on Earth, including Moses, Jesus, and his mother Mary, Lucifer, and the goddess Athena. Garnet describes his most recent astral travels in his fourth book, Dance of Eternal Rapture, including encounters with Muhammad, Buddha, Mary Magdalene, and Jesus, another conversation with Gaia, and a journey to Earth in a parallel universe where there is much less violence and strife due to a couple of quirks in the history of the planet. Joining me now is Garnet Schulhauser. And Garnet, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's my great pleasure. Thank you for joining us, and it's always nice to talk to a fellow Canadian.
For sure it is, yes. And I loved your intro with the anthem being played. That's great.
Hey, I'm a proud Canadian, my friend. Your first book, Dancing on a Stamp, describes your first encounter with your spirit guide, Albert. How did you first meet Albert, and how would you describe him to our audience?
Well, it was back in 2007, and I was still practicing law in Calgary. Mm-hmm. And I went for a stroll down the street one sunny afternoon in May, when suddenly, out of nowhere, a homeless man jumped in front of me. And he looked like a typical homeless man. He had long, stringy hair and a scraggly beard and dirty, slept-in clothes. But he differed in one major aspect, and that's the reason I didn't sort of go around him and keep on walking, because he had these amazing, dazzling blue eyes. And his gaze seemed to be penetrating deep within me, right down to the depths of my soul. And I felt that he knew everything about me, even though we'd never met before. But I didn't feel violated, because at the same time, his gaze was sending me this wave, this gush of pure, unconditional love that was infusing my whole body with an amazing sense of peace and security and well-being. So I was like a deer caught in the headlights. I just stood there basking in the glow from this man until he broke the spell by saying to me, "Why are you here?" Then he promptly disappeared into a nearby store. Well, when I finally collected my wits, I went into the store to try to find him. There was only one entrance and exit, and he wasn't anywhere in the store. I couldn't see him anywhere, and I hadn't seen him come out. I went back out on the street, and I walked up and down for several blocks trying to spot him, but he had basically disappeared into thin air.
Wow.
So that night I resolved that I was going to go back the next day to try to find this man. I was really curious about who he was, why he had stopped me. So the next day I went back, very same time, very same street, walked up and down for 10 or 15 minutes. I was about to lose hope when I spotted him sitting all alone on a bench. So I walked up to him and I said, "Who are you, and why did you stop me the other day?" And he said, "I'm a soul just like you. I'm here to answer your questions and help you on your journey." But then my skeptical lawyer brain kicked in, and you can never get rid of a lawyer brain once you have it. That kicked in, and I said to him, "Why do you think you can help me when you can't even help yourself? Because it looks like you've been sleeping on the street for weeks and you smell like a dead fish." Well, he just gave me a big smile, and he said, "Looks can be deceiving, because you look like you're a very successful corporate lawyer with everything under control, but we both know that's just a facade." He said, "If you want to, turn around and go back to your office and see if you can find all the answers you've been seeking all these years in all those emails waiting for you on your computer, or you can sit down and have a chat with me." So luckily my intuition was screaming at me that I need to sit down and talk to this guy. And I did. And I found out very soon his name was Albert. He was actually one of my spirit guides in disguise. And he told me early on that I was the only one who could see him in physical form. I could see him and I could touch him. He was solid. But to anyone else, he wasn't even there. So if they'd been walking by the bench that day, they would have seen me sitting on a bench all by myself, talking to myself, because they couldn't see him. Anyway, he basically answered all sort of the big questions, the eternal questions of life that I'd been asking over the last 10 or 20 years. Things like, who am I, why am I here, what's my life purpose, and what happens to me when I die? And he answered all those questions and many others that popped up during the course of our dialogue. And then he told me sort of partway through that he wasn't here just to satisfy my curiosity. He wanted me to write a book about his revelations so they'd be available to everyone. So that led to my first book, Dancing on a Stamp.
As a corporate lawyer who deals in logic, who asks a lot of questions, after your first meeting with him and his revealing who he was to you, how did you justify that in your mind? And had you had a spiritual consciousness prior to meeting Albert?
No, I didn't have any spiritual consciousness. I wasn't even aware that I had spirit guides. I was very much of a straight-laced, buttoned-down, stuffed shirt corporate lawyer who didn't ever talk about religion or spirituality or anything else. I was just very much logic and rationality.
Right.
So this was a total change for me. I was a bit skeptical at first, but all it took was about 5 minutes of talking to this man who just exuded wisdom and confidence and love that really convinced me that he was the real McCoy. He was the real thing, and that I should just go along with him. And of course, I knew this would be a big about face for me in terms of my law partners and clients. They would find it very strange if I sort of revealed this. So I kept it to myself for quite a while. Didn't even tell my wife until I was starting to write my book, and then I revealed that I was writing a book about my conversation with my spirit guide, and she was okay with that. After I'd written the manuscript for my first book, I had a doubt in my mind. I wondered, should I just throw it in a drawer, never to be seen again, or should I find a publisher? Because I knew that a lot of my former friends would look at me and wonder if I'd lost my mind if I actually published this manuscript. But I decided in the end I should just go ahead and do it, and I did. I have no regrets about that. I've lost some old friends, but I've gained many more new friends, so it's been a very positive experience.
Fascinating. Did you ever find out why Albert decided to show himself to you and discuss with you how your life was going to change?
Yeah, he told me that it had all been planned between he and I before I incarnated. So when I was on the spirit side planning this incarnation, one of the aspects was that Albert said, "Look, we're going to have a meeting. We're going to try to make a meeting. Hopefully, you will sort of, when I appear in front of you, hopefully you won't just go around me and ignore me. Hopefully, you actually listen to me. That's not guaranteed, but that was the plan." And the reason he chose me was because I'd had some previous incarnations where I had experience as a writer, as an author. So they thought it might fit well for me. And so, of course, when we're born, we don't remember our pre-birth planning. And so I didn't remember that we had planned this with Albert. He did, of course. And so it all turned out okay. And it's luckily for me, I didn't walk away from him that day, that I actually sought him out and had a conversation with him.
All right, stand by, please, Garnet. You and I have to take our break. Interesting story. Garnet Schulhauser is my very special guest this hour, Exonation. His website is garnetschulhauser.com, and that's www.garnetschulhauser.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV. Plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
We live in rapidly shifting times of extreme volatility and uncertainty. Such profound change brings a unique opportunity for the evolution of consciousness. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, host of Mission Evolution Radio Show, a program that explores the latest scientific developments and deepening spiritual truths supporting human evolution. Join me on XZBN.net, where I interview leading experts in science, physics, medicine, spirituality, and more. By applying divergent viewpoints to leading-edge topics, we uncover expansive and evolutionary truth to assist you on your path to enlightenment. More information and past episodes are available at missionevolution.org.
And welcome back, everyone. My guest this hour is Garnet Schulhauser. He is the author of Dancing on a Stamp, Dancing Forever with Spirit, Dance of Heavenly Bliss, Dance of Eternal Rapture. And his website is www.garnetschulhauser.com. What did Albert reveal to you, Garnet, about the afterlife and the cycle of reincarnation?
Well, he said that we're all eternal souls. And we came from a place that he called the spirit side, which is really our true home, where we're really beings of energy. There's nothing physical about us there. And we choose to come to Earth. We choose to incarnate so we can learn lessons, face challenges, and so that we can grow and evolve as souls. So we come here by our own choice. Nobody makes us come here. Before we come, we choose the major features of the lives we're about to live in our new incarnation. Things like the place we're going to be born, the identity of our parents and siblings, friends, the first language we'd learn, first place of our we go to school in. So all those things are sort of set when we're born. But the rest of our life plan is not etched in stone, because when we're here, we forget that we have life plans, and we also have free will to make actions and take decisions. And so it's a bit of a hit and miss whether we follow our life plan closely or not at all, and we often stray off course. What he said is it doesn't matter. He said because God or the source doesn't make rules for us to follow here, and so we can't get cross-threaded with him. We can't end up in a horrible place called hell, because there is no hell. That's just a religious fiction. And so we go through life trying to learn our lessons and face our challenges. At the end of the day, no matter what we did, we all go back to the spirit side from whence we came. And so that's really the cycle. When we get back there, we have a life review to go over the things we did in our most recent life, and from that, we can lay the groundwork for our next incarnation, should we choose to do so. Or we can choose to stay on the spirit side, or perhaps incarnate in a different life form on a different planet. It's entirely up to us. But that's sort of how the cycle goes, and it's all voluntary. It's all because we want to choose it as souls to grow and evolve.
What is the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal is just continue to acquire wisdom and to grow, evolve, and become more and more like the source after every incarnation. And of course, that's a elusive topic, because the source who created all of us is constantly changing and evolving and growing as well. So it's basically a never-ending journey with no finish line. We never finish. We're always growing and evolving.
So would I be correct in assuming that each one of us who comes to any lifetime has a direct link back to the source, where our life and our experiences are being added to his general knowledge or her general knowledge?
Yes, we're all intimately connected to the source, even though we don't remember it or don't acknowledge it, and we're also connected to each other. And so every time the source experiences everything we experience, and that adds to the source's knowledge and wisdom and involvement, because they experience everything all the souls experience. And so that's sort of how the system works. And as I say, it's never ending. Yeah. There's no finish line. We just keep on growing and evolving, and we do so through all of our incarnations, whether it's on planet Earth or on some other planet.
Your second book, Dancing Forever with Spirit, describes a series of astral adventures that you took with Albert. Can you share some of them with us, and how did this come about?
Well, after I'd finished the dialogue with Albert, which led to my first book, he disappeared out of my life for a while. Then suddenly he reappeared again in a very different fashion. I woke up suddenly one night in my bed, and I noticed this ghost-like ethereal figure standing in the doorway of my bedroom. And when it got closer to me, I could see it was my old friend Albert, except now he was in astral form. And he said, "I've come to take you on a series of astral trips because I want to take you to the spirit side. I want to take you to other places in the universe, other places on Earth that you need to see, because I want you to write about what you see and hear in your next book." So then he literally grabbed my astral hand, pulled my astral body out of my physical body. I turned around and looked, and my physical body was still sound asleep in bed. And he said, "Follow me." And he basically led me up through the ceiling, up through the clouds, up to a high point above our very beautiful planet. And he let me look down at this beautiful planet we call Earth, which is our home, before he took me through a shimmering doorway to the spirit side. We ended up in a very beautiful meadow, incredibly beautiful, like more beautiful than anything you'd ever see on Earth. And eventually he led me to a group of souls that seemed to be waiting for me. And when I got closer, I recognized them. They were my mother, father, brother, and other deceased relatives that had passed from the earth plane. And they were there to greet me and to say, "Nice to see you." And we just wanted to reassure you that all of your loved ones that have passed from the earth plane, they are alive and well and very happy on the spirit side. And from there, he took me into a white city there on the spirit side that he called Aglaia. And eventually I ended up meeting with the Council of Wise Ones, which is a group of very wise souls whose job it is to oversee all the incarnations on earth. And there they had a very interesting message for me to take back to all humankind.
What was that message?
Basically, they said, look, humans, you're at a very crucial point in your development. Mm-hmm. You have very advanced technology, but your spiritual and emotional intelligence has not kept pace. That's why there's so much conflict and strife and murders and crime and mass shootings on your planet, because too many people there let their negative emotions like fear, anger, hate, greed get out of control and run their lives. That's why you have so much strife on your planet. And they said, you guys really need to change your ways and find a new path before you end up destroying all life on your planet, which you have the capability of doing with your weapons of mass destruction. So they said, we're trying to send a message through you and through a number of other messengers back to planet Earth to tell humans they've got to stifle their negative emotions and fully embrace love and compassion before it's too late, before they destroy everything on your planet.
I believe one of the most lack of anything on this planet these days is love. There's no more love. People don't stop to smell the roses anymore. People don't stop to say hello anymore. We don't appreciate as much as we used to. How do we get back into sync with Mother Nature, and how do we get back in sync with the one aspect of a formula that can save this entire existence and probably other existences on levels that we still cannot conceive, and that is by love? How do we do that, Garnet?
And you're absolutely right. We need more love on our planet.
Yes.
It has to start initially with ourselves. We have to fully love and forgive ourselves, ourselves for what we deem to be mistakes in our lives. Once we do that, we can begin to love and forgive those close to us, our family, friends, neighbors. And by spreading love, people will know that you're projecting love and forgiveness and compassion. And the hope is that will in turn help them to project love, forgiveness, compassion to other people. So it's a slow process that sort of has to ripple out from the center, from you being the center, and hopefully ripple around the world. And it's not easily done. There's really a lot of lack of love on our planet. But if we really focus on it and spread the message, and the message gets spread through all kinds of people who write books, people like you who host radio shows, people who speak in public gatherings. It's a matter of everyone speaking the truth and telling everyone we need to embrace love, and that's the only way it's going to happen.
When you had the opportunity or the ability to meet with those loved ones that you had lost when you were on the other side, how did you feel?
Well, it was an incredible experience because Albert had told me that everyone, when they die, they pass over to the spirit side, but here was convincing, clear evidence. And so it was a wonderful welcoming. They just developed me in unconditional love. I had just one misgiving before I got there, which was that my mother was there, and I loved her dearly, but when she was on earth, she was a very staunch Roman Catholic. And I thought, she's not going to like what I wrote in my book, Dancing on the Stamp, and so I feared what she would say to me, and she said, no worries, everything's okay, because if I was still living on earth, I wouldn't like what you wrote about the Catholic Church, but now that I'm here, I see the whole picture and everything's okay. So that was a great relief for me. It's sort of like, once you're on the spirit side, you can forget all about what religion taught you on earth, because then you know the real truth, which is evident to everyone on the spirit side.
How different is the real truth compared to what we've been taught with, throughout history with the different religious philosophies?
Well, one of the big things is that they preach, especially the Catholic Church, is that sort of God was the supreme being who put us here for some reason, who controlled events, who could change things in our life if we prayed to God in an appropriate fashion and worshipped Him or it. But they said that God made a lot of rules. Basically, they're all man-made rules because the source does not make any rules for us to follow, but the religions certainly did. And they told us that if we didn't follow those rules and make amends before we died, we'd go to an awful place called hell.
Yes.
So that was what I was raised with, is that, you have to be good. You get one chance. There is no reincarnation. If you're not good in this life, you could end up in hell forever. That's one of the major differences.
I was always taught that hell is here on earth.
Well, a lot of people think that. And in fact, a lot of times I wake up in the morning and I think, God, I know that I have a choice of coming back here or not, but right now I think I sure as hell is not coming back to this hellhole for another life. And so a lot of people think that it depends on what's happening in your life.
True.
Bad things happening, it seems like hell, but it's not. It's just a physical plane school that we choose to come to, and it's really it's an earth school, and it's one of the toughest schools in the universe. But we knew that before we chose it, and so we can't really blame anyone. It's like we chose it, so get over it, get on with your life, enjoy your journey, and you're always going to end up back home anyway.
Garnet, stand by. Interesting conversation with a very interesting man, Exonation. Garnet Schulhauser is our guest. His website is www.garnetschulhauser.com. He's the author of Dancing on a Stamp, Dancing Forever with Spirit, Dance of Heavenly Bliss, Dance of Eternal Rapture. And his website, one more time, is www.garnetschulhauser.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Garnet and I will return on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond. You're watching the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Exonation, before we get back to our guest this hour, Garnet Schulhauser, don't forget the X Chronicles newspaper. Current edition is available for you with our compliments. You can either read it online or download it. 92 pages, color, 11 by 17. It's a real newspaper, and we've been publishing it monthly ever since the year 1990. If you'd like to take a look at it, read it, pass it around, www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. Garnet, your third book, Dance of Heavenly Bliss. Albert introduced you to Gaia, the consciousness of Mother Earth. What was that like?
Well, that was quite amazing because I'd always thought that Earth was nothing but a clump, a conglomerate of inert molecules, basically, soil, rocks, water, so on. Albert took me to a cavern underneath the North Pole, and there I spoke with the consciousness of our planet, Gaia. And it was a bit surprising that our planet has a consciousness, but sure as heck, there she was, and we had a great conversation by telepathy. And what she said was that she is fiercely protected of all her flora and fauna on her planet, on Mother Earth. And she was quite dismayed at the way humans had become so abusive to other creatures on her planet and to her environment with our pollution. And she didn't know why we did this, because she wanted all of us, including humans, to live in peace and harmony with Mother Nature. But we were really sort of like an invasive weed that had sort of spread throughout the garden, choking out all other life. And we continue to do that, especially since the Industrial Revolution, where the amount of pollution that we can inflict on our poor Mother Earth has increased exponentially. And she said, look, at humans, you really have to change our ways. I mean, all of her other animals know that they have to love and respect Mother Earth, and they don't abuse our planet. Only humans do, and we need to stop our pollution, stop polluting her waters, her atmosphere, her soil, and we have to do so in a hurry, because otherwise it's going to end badly for us. And she said that she actually has the power to fight back, that she has the ability to increase the number and intensity of natural disasters on our planet, like hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, earthquakes, wildfires, and the like. And she has been notching that up in the last while as a wake-up call to humans. It's basically a warning shot across our bow that if we don't change our ways, things could go very badly for us. And she really hopes that we will get the lesson, wake up, and really be really serious about curtailing our pollution. Now, she said we've made a lot of progress in the last number of years, but we still have a long ways to go. And so that was her message. Like, look, humans, it could get worse and worse for you. I mean, people call it climate change. I now realize it's really Gaia pulling some strings, trying to get us to wake up and realize that all these severe weather patterns and changes to climate are caused because of our pollution, and that we need to stop it.
You said that you were beneath the North Pole and you were conversing telepathically. What kind of feeling did you get when communicating with Gaia?
Well, I got the feeling that she was a very sort of wise, caring, loving spirit who really wanted to protect everything on Mother Earth, on our planet, and she really wanted everyone to live in peace and harmony without abusing one another. And so she was, an amazing soul, an amazing person to speak to, and she was really very compassionate about trying to ensure that her planet would be a pristine wilderness for all of her creatures, including humans, to live in peace and harmony.
The astral travels that you took, were they always at night?
Yes. What would happen is that Albert would show up in my bedroom at night. He would never tell me when he was coming, wouldn't give me any warning. He would just suddenly show up, and then he'd say, "Come on, let's go." And he would never tell me where we're going, so I had no idea. But I always knew there'd be some sort of an amazing adventure every time he took me on these astral trips, and for sure they were.
What would happen if your wife, let's say your wife woke up in the middle of the night? Would she know that you were not in your body?
No, it would appear to her that I was just sleeping. And if something happened, like if some emergency or whatever, and then she tried to wake me up, I would have immediately been zapped back into my body so that I would be there for to wake up and for the event.
When you're traveling with Albert, how do you feel anything? Do you smell anything? Do you hear anything?
I don't feel anything and I don't smell anything, but I hear telepathically. So when I've talked to other people, say on the spirit side, or I've talked to a number of creatures on our planet, different life forms on other planets, it's always telepathically, which to me is like a conversation in my head. But basically, I'm sort of non-physical, so I can't feel, hear, or see anything in a normal sense. But I can certainly see in my astral form, and I can hear what they're saying telepathically.
What was your life like prior to meeting Albert?
I was very much of a typical corporate lawyer. I wasn't into spirituality. I had given up on my Catholic religion a long time before, but I was really in sort of a no man's land. I wanted the answers to all the big questions in life, and I was constantly searching for them. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, this homeless man comes and jumps in front of me and provides me all the answers I've been searching for. And so what happened then was, from being a straight-laced corporate lawyer, I went on a new path. And a year after I met Albert, I retired from the law. It just didn't seem relevant anymore. And I began the next part of my path, which was writing books and traveling with Albert and getting his message out to everyone in the world. And so an amazing sort of a fork in the road, but it's been a great journey since practicing law. And I'm actually much happier and more fulfilled now than I was before.
Is there hope for this planet of ours? Is there hope for humanity?
I've asked Albert that many times. He says, yes, there is. He wants to say for sure whether or not, I don't know whether he can peer into our future, but he wouldn't say in any event what would happen. But he was confident that we would get past this rough patch in the road that we're going through with a lot of combined effort from people who are enlightened, and that we'd get over this. But he said it's not a done deal. We all have to work hard at it.
I understand that you were also taken to the Akashic Records. What was that like?
Well, the Akashic Records, as you know, Rob, contain the records of every life that has ever been lived anywhere in the universe. And so I was taken there to see a few different things. At one point, he actually showed me some glimpses of some of my previous lives, which was really quite interesting. And it's really quite amazing because it's like you're watching a 3D movie, and you can actually sort of watch it, slow motion, fast forward. You can stop it. You can actually jump back into your body if it's one of your lives and sort of relive what's going on.
Oh, wow.
And the other interesting thing is that if you're looking at one of your past lives, you can actually see or hear the thoughts and feel the emotions of the people that you interact with. So that if you said something mean to someone one day to a coworker, when you're reviewing that part of your life, you will feel their hurt and their wonderment as to why you were mean to them. And you'll actually feel that, hear their thoughts. So it's an amazing way of looking at it. And so it's just and you can look at anyone's life. You can look at whoever you're curious about. You can look at all at the life of Henry VIII or whatever you want. And it's really quite an amazing thing. I could have stayed there forever, literally. But Albert pulled me away to say, no, I mean, you can come back here sometime later. We have other business to attend to.
Speaking about staying there, when you would leave your body and you would have these astral travels with Albert, how long would they last? In human time, would they last for minutes? Would they last for hours?
Yeah, that's hard for me to say because what would happen is I would go on the trip, and then the next thing I know, I'd be back in my body, waking up in the morning. So I don't really know in Earth time how long, but certainly it happened between. Whenever he came to my room that evening until the next morning when I woke up. And, a lot of people say, how do you know you weren't just dreaming this? And I say, well, because most of the dreams I've had disappear quickly, like within a couple of hours of waking up. The memories of these trips were very clear and vivid for weeks afterwards. And so that's why they're different. And as soon as I would, within a day or two of having a trip, I would go to my computer, write down notes of my recollections of what happened, and that's what I used as the basis for my books. But one of the things that's hard for us to comprehend is that linear time on Earth with a past, present, and a future is just an illusion. On the spirit side, there is no past or no future. There's only one big now, and everything all happens together. And that's really hard to wrap your mind around, but that's what happens. So in terms of the spirit side, my astral trips would be less than a blink of an eye. In Earth terms, it might be a few hours.
How many astral trips do you think you've taken with Albert?
Boy, I haven't even added it up.
Wow.
Would be several dozen anyway.
When's the last time you saw Albert?
Last time I saw Albert was last November, I think it was. And we occasionally have an interchange of communication, but he hasn't taken me on an astral trip for a while. What happened was, after I finished the manuscript for my fourth book, I said to him, should I write book 5, or what do you want me to do? And he says, put book 5 on hold for now. I'll get back to you when the time is right. And in the meantime, you should take what's known as a QHHT course, which is Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique course that was developed by Dolores Cannon, who is actually the founder of my publishing company. So I took that. I'm busy doing that now. I'm just waiting for Albert to tap me on the shoulder to say, okay, buddy, let's get writing book 5.
The next time you speak to Dolores, give her my best. I've had her on the show a few times.
Oh, great. That's super.
Stand by, Garnet. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. X-Zone Nation, Garnet Schulhauser is our special guest, www.garnetschulhauser.com. And Garnet and I will return as we wrap up this hour here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
Heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
The concept of a new age has been around since the late 19th century, yet much of its original meaning has been lost. What exactly is the new age? Is it a religion, a collection of obscure esoteric practices, a series of doomsday predictions, or an astrological event? The New Age Chronicles is a unique, complementary publication bringing reason and grounded information to separate fact from fiction. Chock full of valuable information to support you as we make the monumental shift into the new era. You won't want to miss a single innovative issue. The New Age Chronicles newspaper is coming soon to www.newagechronicles.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Garnet Schulhauser is our special guest this hour. www.garnetschulhauser.com. First of all, Garnet, thank you so much for joining us tonight here in the X Zone. A great pleasure talking to you, and I wish you much continued success. And I'll be anxious to read the next book that you write with the assistance of our friend Albert. Exonation, Garnet is the author of 4 very interesting books: Dancing on a Stamp, Dancing Forever with Spirit, Dance of Heavenly Bliss, and Dance of Eternal Rapture. I understand that in one of your astral travels you met Bigfoot and an Irish fairy.
Yes. That was just shortly after I first had a contact with Gaia. And I said to Albert, I'm very surprised that you showed me this. I hadn't expected it. Mm-hmm. Do you have any other surprises up your sleeve about what happens on our planet? And he says, oh, sure. So first stop was to the Pacific Northwest, where I had an encounter with a Sasquatch. And that was quite interesting. And she was like about 9 feet tall with her fur-covered body. Her name was Xana. And we communicated by telepathy. And she said, that her race has been living concurrently on planet Earth with humans for eons. They don't want open contact with humans because they think we're brutal and aggressive and savage. And they're afraid that if they have contact, that they'll be shot, or we'll put them in a cage or parade them in a circus parade or something like that. And so they clearly do want to avoid us. But they're very peace-loving. They communicate with each other by telepathy. And they're very adept at escaping human detection because they have what she called sort of an animal sort of radar in which they can detect other animals, and particularly humans, from miles away. So they can see us coming, and they can just go and they hide. They live underground, where they're quite happy, but they would really like to be able to live above ground alongside humans whenever humans sort of find a path to spiritual enlightenment and quit being brutal and aggressive and savage. So they hope that someday they could do that. In the meantime, it was like, we're just going to avoid humans. We don't want to harm humans because we're very peace-loving, but we're just going to have to hang out underground until humans sort of make a big change in the course of their civilization.
It's kind of sad that an animal or a hominid or a creature that we share this planet with has to live in fear.
It certainly is sad, and I was clearly saddened by her story because she was really a very kind, loving, compassionate creature, and they had no hate about humans. They just really wanted to avoid us, and they really wanted to one day be able to live on the surface of our planet openly and without fear, for sure.
Well, I think that's a wonderful thing, and that everyone listening to the show should do something positive to help, because if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I think for way too long now, Garnet, some members of society have just been part of the problem, and they have created the multiple problems that we're seeing today. I also understand that in your book, Dance of Eternal Rapture, Albert introduced you to Muhammad, the prophet and founder of Islam. What did the Prophet Muhammad have to say to you?
Very interesting, because, of course, we know what's going on in our planet with the Islamic extremists. And I was sort of curious as to, where did this originate from? Are they truly sort of carrying out a religious program, or have they just run amok and gone off on their own? Muhammad said two things very important. He said, first of all, he was very dismayed at the way men in the Islamic religion, not all men, but some men, have been abusive towards women. They've subjected women to being basically someone who has to stay at home. They have to cover their face or their whole body. They can't. In some places, they can't go out in public without a male escort. And in some countries, like Saudi Arabia, until recently, they weren't allowed to drive. And so he just was dismayed at this subjugation of women. He said, in his mind, and what he taught was that men and women were all equal, and that everyone should be treated equally, and there should be no sort of first and second class citizens. And so he was dismayed at somehow how some men of the religion used the religion as an excuse to abuse and subjugate women. So he hoped that would stop. He did not. He never preached that. That was not one of his beliefs. Second surprising thing was he said that he's always preached that Islam should be a peace-loving religion, that no one should ever use Islam as an excuse to inflict violence or murder or bombings or whatever on other people. So he's very dismayed at some of these extremists including ISIS and some of the other groups, who were abusing other people, committing terrorist acts, and doing so in the name of Islam, as though it was something that religion wanted them to do, and that they were justified by their religion in doing so. And he said, couldn't be further from the truth. And he really wished that he could be back on earth to set the record straight, to tell these guys that Islam, not in any shape or form, is about violence or abuse of other people. It was very interesting. He's a very wise, compassionate spirit. I said to him, do you wish you could go back to earth to try to fix things that have gone astray in your religion? He said, yes, he would. He's just waiting for word from the Council of Wise Ones as to whether and when he should reincarnate. But he was really dismayed at those two things. Although a lot of the other aspects about Islam he was quite proud about, to the extent that they preached love and compassion and equality for all. But they've gone off the track very badly in two aspects.
You met Mary Magdalene.
Yes. She's a lovely, beautiful soul, very wise, compassionate, loving, interesting conversation. She has, as you know, some religions for a time over the many centuries ago, they maligned her badly.
Yes.
In some cases, calling her a prostitute. Yep. And she says nothing further from the truth. She was not even a loose woman. She was a virgin until she married Jesus Christ. She actually did marry Jesus. Right. They had 3 children together, and she said that from the time she met Jesus, she knew he was a special person. She could just sense it, and so she got married to him early. I think maybe when she was 17, and they lived together. And the reason that none of that is in any of the Gospels was that because originally it was, and then some of the early leaders of the church after Christ decided that they wanted to paint a better picture of Jesus, and they thought that him being celibate all his life was more holy than being married with children, and so they wrote all that stuff out. She also said that, of course, Jesus was not born of a virgin. His mother consummated, or they consummated and conceived Christ by the normal union between Joseph and Mary. So it wasn't a miraculous virgin birth. And Mary, in fact, had other children after Jesus. And so this fiction that Mary was a perpetual virgin is just wrong. That was written out of the early Gospels as well, because they thought that being a virgin made you holier than if you weren't. And so very interesting conversation.
But you also spoke to Jesus. Yes.
Yeah, and Jesus basically confirmed his marriage to Mary Magdalene, confirmed the fact that he had siblings, and he said that he knew that that some bad things might happen to him in the course of his life, because he remembered a lot of things about his life planning, which most of us can't, and because he had learned to focus his thoughts into very powerful beams of energy, he created his miracles so he could walk on water, turn water into wine. And he decided that he could see that something bad would happen. He didn't know exactly what would happen, but he thought that his crucifixion would draw attention to his life, and that maybe some good things would happen from it, that more people would follow his teachings. So, excuse me, when I asked him why he allowed himself to be crucified, because he had these powers of creating miracles,
yes,
he said that he let it happen so that it would make a dramatic statement to his followers. And he knew that there was likely going to be a religion based upon his teachings. He didn't know how it would play out. And to a large extent, he thought that Christianity had done a lot of good things in the world, but he was dismayed at some of the things that had happened. The fact that some of the early leaders, the popes and the cardinals, sort of went off on their own agenda and sort of downplayed his core teachings and came up with their own rules and beliefs, which really had nothing to do with what he taught when he was on the earth. And then so he was dismayed at some of those things, including this fiction called Hell. And he said that has created a lot of fear, anxiety in people over the ages because they were fearful of dying and going to hell. And he said that he wished that they hadn't done that, but it was sort of too late, out of his control. And, humans do what humans do, and that's what developed. And so he had to live with it.
Garnet, with all the travels and all the wonderful people that you've had the pleasure of meeting, both on this side of the veil and the other side, what can you share with the X-Zone Nation in the next minute? What are your final thoughts? What are your final words of wisdom?
What Albert said to me many times, he said, look, You're here in this life on an adventure. Mm-hmm. You're incarnated by your own choice. So never think of yourself as a victim because you chose this life. And so learn to live with it, face the challenges with courage, learn from every situation, whether it be success or failure, and remember that you can never go wrong or become lost. You're always going to return to the spirit side. So he said, listen, lighten up and enjoy your adventure and don't take everything so seriously.
You know, your guide, Albert, sounds a lot like a friend of mine in Montreal, Gus Ackerman, who always told me, you're here for a good time, not for a long time.
Exactly.
You know, Garnet, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. I do hope we have the pleasure of speaking to you again. And continued success. And the next time you meet or see Albert, please give him my best.
We'll do so, and thank you, Rob.
It's been my great pleasure. Have a good evening, sir.
You too.
Exonation, what a fascinating conversation. Our guest this hour has been Garnet Schulhauser, and his website is garnetschulhauser.com. That's GarnetSchulhauser.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Are you or is someone you know struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.